Hey, I wanted to share with you an episode I recently did about some of the crazy behaviors that we do that we now think of as normal. They're not normal and they're killing us. They're killing our mind, our body, our soul, and our spirit. I hope this conversation resonates with you. But before we get started, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I have been thinking about and talking about over the last couple of weeks, and that is how we normalize crazy. How we normalize crazy. What do I mean by that? Things that we would look at, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago and go, that's crazy. We have now made normal. We've accepted it as the way things are, and we just go with it, right? So let me give you an example, and then you can weigh in on some of the things that you now think you accept as normal, which in the past you would say that's crazy, right? So normally a normal work week is 40 hours a week, but for many of us, we cram in an extra 10, an extra 20 hours in that week. So instead of a 40-hour week, we have a 50-hour week or a 60-hour week. And we're adding all of these hours to our day, right, to please our boss. Right. And sometimes it is, sometimes you end up with a big project and you have to put in extra hours. I get that. But than I think more often than not, we are working insane hours. And we've normalized that. We've accepted that as, oh, well, that's just what I have to do. That's what that's what the job, or that's what my boss requires. And, I just do it, even though it's taking a toll on you, even though it's draining you mentally, physically, emotionally, we just keep doing it. For some reason, we think that whole thing of going, not stopping like the ever ready bunny is a badge of honor. And it's not a badge of honor. It's not a badge of honor. It's crazy, but we've normalized it. I one time had a boss, and he had a boss. It's always that case, right? You have a boss, he has a boss. And he would not go home at the end of the day until his boss left the office. And if his boss was working late, well, then he stayed and he worked late. He never wanted to leave before his boss left because he thought that was, somehow he was signaling to his boss that he was a hard worker, that he was dedicated, that, nothing stood in the way, nothing stood between him and his job, and he would do what it takes to move up. Crazy. It's crazy. We should not be working ourselves into an early grave just to please someone. And again, I understand when you have a big project and something comes up and you and your whole team are going all in and you're going to have a couple of late nights. I get that. But as I said, I've been in that environment where, your day, my day in TV news started at 10 to 12. That was just it. You knew right off the bat you weren't going to work an 8-hour day. Crazy. Because of the mental, as I said, the mental, the physical, and the emotional toll it takes. At some point you get sleep deprived and you're tired and you're snappy. And that time is taken away from something, right? Or someone. And so often it's taken away from your family and your friends. You don't have time to spend with your children. Why? Because you're working. Because you think that's normal. And it's not normal. I want you to put it in the chat. Has that happened to you? Are you working insane hours and now it's become just way of life. I want you to tell me what you think about that. I'm going to give you another example of what I think is crazy. Feeling numb in your job. Now, how many of you, when you stop and think about it, are just numb? You don't have any highs or lows. You're just kind of, your day goes on. How was your day, honey? It was okay. It was the same as yesterday, and it was the same the day before. Why? Because you're not living in your purpose and your passion. You're not bringing your full, authentic self to your job, and you're not enjoying the work that you're doing. You're just numb. I lived that for a long time. I talk about this often when I was in TV news, and I knew that career was ending. There was no doubt that that career was ending. And at some point, there was no doubt that career had ended. But I was holding on as hard as I possibly could. Why? Because I was afraid of what was out there, afraid of the what ifs. You know the what ifs. What if I do something and I can't support myself? What if I can't pay my bills? What if people laugh at me? I was paralyzed by what if. So I hung on to something that really I should have let go of, quite honestly, maybe 2 years earlier. But I hung on and I was just numb. I got no enjoyment from the job. So I'm asking you, are you numb, and have you normalized that? I know I talk to a lot of women and they say, that's just the way it is. I have kids, I have responsibilities, and this pays the bills. And so while I don't have any highs or lows, I know that I'm going to put food on the table. But really, do you want your life to be like that? You want to go through life just feeling numb and kind of empty inside because you're not following your purpose and your passion? Because you haven't taken the time to identify what lights you up, so to speak? I think that's crazy. That is another example of how we take crazy and we make it normal. We say it's okay. It's something that I can live with, when really we should be rejecting that whole idea that we can go day in, day out, not enjoying what takes a huge chunk of our time. Right? So I want you to think about that. Stop normalizing insane hours to please a boss. Stop normalizing not feeling, not fulfilling your purpose and living with passion. That's crazy. Here's another one that I think a lot of women do, especially professional women. We downsize ourselves to fit the image others have of us. I'm going to say that again because I think that's powerful. We downsize the image we have of ourselves to fit what others think of us, how others see us. How often have you thought about, a dream of doing something that was really big, and you start talking about it, and people around you start telling you, oh no, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. If you tried that, XYZ is going to happen. And another example of the what ifs. You try that, and what if? And always at the end of what if is a disaster, right? People usually don't say what if, and it's, magnificent. They say, what if you fail? What if you can't? What if you don't? Why don't we stop doing the what ifs that lead to disasters and think of it as, what if you succeed? What if this really blows up and you really are, it launches you into a whole different level. It launches your career into a whole different level. It opens up doors to your purpose and your passion. How about talking about that what if? But we don't usually talk about that what if, because that's Who wants to do that, right? So we downsize what we think of ourselves. We downsize what we think we can do, what we can accomplish, who we can become to fit what others think of us. I want you to put it in the chat. What do you think of that? Have you ever done that? Because I know that I've done everything on this list so far. I've done everything on this list. I thought about, doing a number of things and I put it off. As I said, I got paralyzed by the what ifs. And so I stayed in my little box. And then finally, when I just couldn't take the numbness anymore, the emptiness anymore, I thought, I'm really made for something much bigger, much more. I have a lot more to contribute to my family, to my community, to the world than what I was actually doing. And at that point, when I got totally fed up with being woe is me, I took action. And just taking the steps to change opened up the door to everything else. That proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I think it's a Chinese proverb. It's so true. When I stepped out, others appeared and were so supportive. And I kept the what I was doing within a tight circle. I didn't talk about it to a lot of people because I knew what was going to happen. I had been victim of it before. So, that movie didn't change. I knew what was coming up, what the parts were, and who was going to say what. And so I purposely kept it quiet in the early stages because I didn't want the naysayers to weigh in. And I was determined that I was not going to back down, downsize, retreat into who I was. I had decided who I wanted to become, and that pulled me forward every day. I think just a couple of weeks ago, I talked about let your future self dictate your present. And it's something that organizational psychologist Benjamin Hardy talks about a lot. He talks about how you see yourself in the future, who you want to become, what you want to do, and let that dictate what you do today and tomorrow and the next day. It's a powerful concept. And it helped me take one step at a time. And I took baby steps. I took very, very small, doable steps. And when I was able to take bigger steps, I did. But the step I did not take was I did not downsize myself to fit the image of what other people had of me, because I think that is crazy. Okay, let me say it again, crazy. What are some of the things that you are doing that when you take a step back, you think, that's crazy. Why did I ever do that? It's almost like, sometimes when we take a step back and we think about somebody that you dated and it was just your heart was going to break if he didn't respond to you or call you or say something to you at school or in college or whatever. You were just heartbroken, right? I look back on that and I just chuckle because I think, thank God that didn't happen. Thank God he didn't pay attention to me, right? Right? That was not the one for me. Okay? Think of it like that. And I want you to spend some time and think about the things you do and reclassify them. Reclassify them as not normal. And the final one I want to talk to you today about that we have normalized, that's crazy, is not taking care of ourselves. And not taking care of ourselves in terms of really not taking care of ourselves mentally and physically and emotionally. I'm going to get on my soapbox just for a second here. A lot of women think that, oh, I got a mani and a pedi, and so I'm good. I did self-care. No, you did not. You did self-maintenance. I'm gonna say that again. You did self-maintenance. You maintained yourself. You maintained your outer self, and yes, it made you feel good. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. You should do it. But self-care goes deeper. It's about, you know, making sure that you show up as your authentic self. It's living the life that you want to live. It's setting boundaries so that people don't take advantage of you. It's about speaking your truth. That's self-care. And just last week, I did a YouTube uh, program on real self-care for all of you, your mind, your body, your soul, your heart. And I spoke with a psychiatrist and mental health expert, and she gave us a lot of really good information about real self-care. And then before that, I talked with someone who specializes in burnout and how we have normalized burnout. Think about that. We have normalized feeling burned out. I can't tell you how many women come to me and say, I don't know, something's missing. I get no joy from anything. And they can't figure out why. They're burned out. They're burned out. And it's something that started a long time ago, so long ago they can't remember when it started, right? That's crazy. Not taking care of yourselves, but taking care of everybody else around you. That's crazy. And we've got to stop doing that. We've got to stop making that seem like it's normal. And we got to stop passing this on to our daughters and our sons as well. But daughters pick up so much of how they're going to behave from their moms and the women they see around them. We have to show our daughters that we're not going to do these crazy things and call it normal. So I want to challenge you. My four things that I have listed to say do not normalize: working insane hours, crazy; feeling numb and having no joy and passion in your life, crazy; downsizing to fit the image others have of you, crazy; not taking care of yourself, crazy, 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 right? Crazy, crazy, crazy. And I can keep going on with the list, and I'm sure that you can add things that you're doing in your life when you stop to think about it, that you would say, why am I doing that? Why am I every day draining a little bit of my soul and my spirit? Why am I doing that? And it really comes down to how you see yourself. And once you see the behaviors that you've normalized, that you now think are crazy, you can make changes. It all starts with you becoming aware of what you're doing and then thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I not taking care of myself? Why is it every time when someone requests, you to work overtime hours, you raise your hand? Why is it that I'm feeling numb in my position? Those are really tough questions. But until you recognize how you're feeling and what you're doing, the patterns that you've established, you won't be able to change them. And so I want to challenge you today, start today thinking about this. What are you doing today that maybe 2 or 3 years ago you would have said, that's crazy? I think that when the pandemic hit, that gave all of us pause, and we started looking at the things that we were required to do, had, required to do, things that we just did on our own. That gave us an opportunity to reexamine our lives because we were all in lockdown. And so we were forced to think of alternative ways to get the job done, for example. So instead of spending hours and hours in traffic, you could work from home. And a lot of people still work from home. You know, a lot of people, re-examine their lives and they thought, wow, I've spent a lot of time away from my family. And it feels good to be with the people I love. It feels good not to be in an environment that's always, gossipy and toxic. And so we re-examined our lives and our lifestyles. And a lot of people made the choice that they weren't gonna work a traditional 9 to 5. They just made that decision. So I want to challenge you to think of the things that you're doing now, whether it's working insane hours or you're living a numb life or you're not taking care of yourself. Whatever it is, I want to challenge you to look at what you are doing, how you are living, how you are feeling. How are you emotionally? I want you to examine where you are right now in your life. And if you're doing some of these crazy things, stop immediately. Start making plans to make changes. Trust me, it looks scary on the other side, but what if you make a change and it opens the door to the life you want? Instead of what if, why don't you start saying, why not? Comment below on what resonated with you in this episode. I would love to know. And two reminders. One, if you want to talk with me one-on-one, head over to my website, Constance Howard LLC, and you can book a free one-on-one conversation with me. And two, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.